Is Grand Champion even good anymore? It's something the Rocket League community has wondered pretty much since the GC rank was added in 2016. And today in this episode of Rocket League MythBusters, we're going to explore that question in the free-to-play era. This will be done by way of both visual and statistical comparisons, which I think should be interesting no matter what rank you are. To do this, I've gathered some data points that assign real numbers to the skills that separate Plat, Diamond, Champ, and GC, while also tracking to see if ranks in general have gotten worse over time. But let's start by looking at what exactly Grand Champion means in Rocket League. Now, in the last season before the start of free-to-play, GC was the top 0.9% of the player base. But the issue with the old system was that low GC was technically the same rank as a pro. And there was a wide range of skills represented just by one rank symbol. With the start of free-to-play Season 1, the top players were now separated into 4 ranks. And at the end of that season, GC1 and above now represented just 0.4% of the players. But from there, that rank distribution has started to climb. And with it, the complaint that GC just doesn't mean anything anymore. Our first step in this experiment is a visual comparison. If the skill barrier to reach Grand Champion has changed, one would expect to be able to see the difference between a Season 1 GC game and a GC game from today. To help with this, I've brought in Alti, a professional coach that has 6 years of experience with players of all levels, including the team 26 Rising. Now for this section, you can play along too. I'll be showing 2 clips, one called Blue and the other Orange. Both will be GC1 2v2 games, and the goal is to decide which lobby looks more skilled. After which, I'll reveal which is from free-to-play Season 1 and which is from the current season. Alright, starting off with Blue and Wasteland. This is GC1 gameplay, whether you like it or not.
Whether I like it or not.
I know you have feelings about what GC is like these days, Alti.
Just a bit. Okay, not bad team play there.
Definitely in the air a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's slower. I can tell that. It's very... Is the other clip also going to be 2v2?
Yes, we are going to stick to 2v2.
Okay.
But you only have a minute.
Off the play. A little bit of a whiff there.
Yeah,
overall, teams kind of moving the ball around, just kind of getting to places.
Whiffs happen in GC, right? We got to explain that to everyone below.
All the time.
Yeah. You don't hit GC and stop missing. But that's the end.
Okay.
The comparison clip, Orange. So one of these is going to be from like a couple days ago, Season 6. And one of these is from early Season 1, September, October 2020. All right, first season of free-to-play.
Okay.
But still the same rank.
A lot more movement in this one. It's very... it's almost aggressive. You can tell there's a lot going on with their coordination in this one. And like there's a little bit more... I guess functionality, if you will. But for all I know, I'm watching AI again.
I'm surprised you haven't even suggested that you might just be watching yourself. You too. That's always an option with YouTubers, right? The prank video.
Fair. Yeah.
It's all you, Alti.
Okay.
All right. You got to tell me which one looked more skilled. What lobby looked better to you?
Okay. So oddly enough, it looked like the second one was much more skilled. It looks like they were faster, hitting the ball with more intent, and the other one looked a little bit more wild.
Okay.
Which almost makes me wonder if the first one was actually more recent.
That is what we're going to find out here, and we can't just do it with one comparison, but starting with this one, you said Orange was more skilled, which was our second clip. Orange was most recent, Season 6.
Really? Okay. It was noticeably obvious that the second one was much more skilled, so don't criticize me for getting the season.
That's true. You got that part right.
That was a guess.
I think people will agree with you. As for what season it is, well, that's the debate. Is it better or worse these days, right?
Right.
Now, of course, just one comparison isn't an adequate sample size, but I'm not going to stretch out this video by showing the 5 other pairings I went through with Alti. Just know that Alti picked the newest clip to be more skilled 4 out of 6 times. And while this is an interesting experiment, I'm not really sure it decided anything. Remember, the options here aren't just GC1 has gotten better or worse. Technically, we could come to the conclusion that it's unchanged. But to do that, we have to look a little deeper into the metrics of what makes GC better than other ranks, and if those variables have changed. To accomplish this, I gathered 600 2v2 replays from Plat 1, Diamond 1, Champ 1, and GC 1 for 3 different seasons. Yes, this took over 7,000 replays. Then I looked through the almost 100 metrics that are tracked in the replay files and graphed out some specific ones that I think represent what makes one rank better than another. The first thing I was surprised to find is that no matter what season and what rank, all players in the 2v2 playlist from Plat to GC have the same average of 1.4 goals per player per game. The difference though is how those goals are scored. Here you can see that passing plays for goals become more common as your rank increases. Yes, the selfishness of Plat players is on full display here with their 0.4 assists per game versus GC players that average about 0.7. But that might be a little bit of an unfair statement when you take into account that defense is so much better in the higher ranks, with GCs doubling the platinum rate of saves per game. Thus, it's fair to assume that passing plays are more of a requirement in order for goals to actually happen in the higher levels. Higher ranked players also average more shots, but once again that improved defense comes into play, resulting in Plat 1s actually having a 10% higher shooting percentage than GC 1s. So there, we've already given you Plat something to flex about. Our next metric is one I think really distinguishes the high ranks over the lower ones: power slide count. Grand Champions use their power slide almost 3 times as much as Platinums. And though I didn't graph it out, I do want to add that when it comes to how long a player holds power slide, Plats actually average double the time of a GC1. So basically, a low ranked player uses power slide way less often, but when they do use it, they're holding onto it a lot longer than is probably necessary. It's often said that higher ranks are faster, and while that is a very broad and situational description, the stats do back it up. GC1s are about 4 miles per hour faster than your average Plat, while also spending about double the amount of time at supersonic speed during the game. Of course, higher ranks maintain those speeds by way of good boost pathing. I decided to do a community poll on YouTube about our next stat, asking how many more pads a GC collects over a Plat. Most voters picked the highest number, but the difference isn't that much. 47 pads a game versus 34, or a 13 pad difference, which I can only assume is due to the layout of the field, which has these Plats driving over them accidentally. And finally, we have a graph that has GC on the bottom. More aerial play means higher ranks will spend less time on the ground. Yes, a lower number is better in this case, though we do have a weird crossing of lines between Diamond and Plat in recent seasons. While this is only a difference of maybe a few seconds that almost means nothing, may I venture a guess that Plats might be flying a little bit more often than they really should be. Okay, maybe I'm picking on Plats a little bit too much. Let me know your theories in the comments below. For our final stat, I once again wanted to get some outside perspective from the community. The so-called demo meta of Rocket League is often brought up in a negative light, but how often are people actually getting demoed? The Twitter poll I made ended up with 43% guessing that players demo at a rate of 1.5 per game in GC1. The actual answer? 0.75. So your average 2s game in GC will have 3 demolitions in it. That's it. Lower ranks, even less. A Plat 1 game will be like 2 demos. Once again, this is an important metric. Higher ranks use demolitions more. But I think the stat also shows that it's not at a rate that backs up any claim that Rocket League has a demolition problem. Alright, so I kind of focused on rank differences for most of the discussion, but no doubt you noticed a downward trend in a lot of the stats. You see, in Season 3, Psynex made an adjustment to the ranks in Rocket League that pushed a lot of players up about a rank or so, and the results of that seem to have caused a small reduction in some of the skills we looked at. As for the GC rank, well, the differences are there too. But once again, it's not that much of a change. Add to that the visual comparison we did, I think it's hard to justify the claim that GC is now somehow filled with low-skilled players that don't deserve the rank. The graphs I put together confirm there are real metrics that prove why a player in Grand Champion is better than a Champ or a Diamond. So what about that sloping increase of players in GC1 and above? Well, rank changes by psionics and MMR inflation can play a role. We also can't forget how many new players this game had during the first few seasons of free-to-play. If your player base gets cut in half, as Rocket League definitely has, and most of the people that leave are below GC, which they probably were, then it makes sense that the GC percentage of the player base would increase as a result. That's how math works. A higher number in that metric doesn't necessarily mean that Grand Champion is less skilled or even easier to get. In the end, I know this doesn't really settle the debate of whether GC is now worse, better, or the same. But I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at skill in Rocket League and the specific measurable differences between the ranks. For more Rocket League MythBuster content, you can check out the playlist I've linked here, and if you have an idea for a future experiment, let me know in the comments below. My name is Rocket Sledge. Thanks for watching.